Hi, everybody. It's Michael Gober here, Customer Success Manager from ShopKeeper, the profit dashboard built by Amazon sellers for Amazon sellers. I'm here today with Emma Schermer, Tamir. Emma, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to be talking to you about how Amazon sellers prepare for the holiday season. Instead of me introducing you, please go ahead and tell our sellers a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Michael. I'm really excited to be speaking with you today. As Michael mentioned, my name's Emma Schermer Tamir. I am the co-founder of Marketing by Emma. We help Amazon sellers as well as e-commerce businesses create marketing writing that's going to engage, excite, and help build relationships with your dream customers. So whether that be Amazon listings or your website copy, we help you stand out, get noticed, and get conversions.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the quick intro, Emma. We're really happy to have you. There's a lot that our sellers are asking us right now as they're preparing for the holiday season. And I think the first question that I want to ask you is, what is it that you think sellers really need to be making a priority right now of as they're ramping up and preparing for the holiday season?
I think the listing oftentimes is a little bit of an afterthought for sellers. So, you invest all of this time in making sure that you're sourcing the correct product and arranging all of the shipments and that it's going to be, stored properly. And you do all this stuff. And then there's sort of this, oh yeah, and I need a listing. And so it kind of gets thrown up a lot of times a little haphazardly, and then you're not necessarily going back and reviewing it. So whether you're in the process of launching a new product or you're wanting to really tighten up an existing products listing, this is something that you want to be continuously revisiting and making sure that it's current, that it's addressing customers' concerns, and that it's also really focused on the customer. I think it's even easier when you're an online business versus a brick and mortar business to kind of forget about that interaction and the importance of really putting your customer front and center, because most of the time it's you sitting by yourself in a room with your computer. And so it's not just that you forget about it, but it can be really challenging to really put yourself in the mind of the customer, understand what they care about, what their experience is like. And by neglecting that, you're really doing yourself a huge disservice and missing out on some of that opportunity that you could be capitalizing on if you really spent the time to dig in a little bit deeper.
How much time do you think folks should be spending that they're not? In other words, on average, sellers must be spending some amount of time on their listings, or maybe it's none whatsoever. And I'm just wondering, as a rule of thumb, would you say, for a given listing, how much TLC should a seller expect to give a listing on a regular basis? And then thinking about the holidays, if that's different at all.
Yeah, so I think that there's not necessarily a set rule for that. You will partially want to be thinking about the category that you're in. So some categories, there's a lot more constant movement, or they're very fiercely competitive. And so even if you're the leader, you're going to constantly have people copying you. And so just by need of continuing to maintain that edge, you'll need to be giving your listing more frequent love. But in general, it's something that you want to be not only looking at the copy itself, but also what's going on with the keywords and how people are searching for products like yours. So there will be probably some seasonal aspects to that, as well as just a natural evolution of how people are searching for a product. So if you were selling something that is low carbohydrate and gluten-free, a few years ago, paleo would have been probably a big portion of the types of searches that you were having. But now, as the diet trends change, keto diet is starting to have a lot more prominence. And so not only may you have fewer paleo related words, but you have this whole opportunity of keto related words that weren't being searched before, because that a few years back was a relatively niche diet that most people didn't know about. and then all of the words associated with that. Similarly, a few years ago, if you would have said MCT oil, probably most people would have looked at you with a glazed look. And not that it's necessarily something that everybody understands more, but a lot more people are familiar with that term and maybe searching it when they're searching for those types of products.
Got it. Okay. Super. So now when it comes to the holiday season, what are the things that you find sellers are focused on, but maybe too much, and maybe their priorities are overemphasize something that they think is really important, but it's not as important as they think it is?
So I think in general, when it comes to the holidays specifically, but also just kind of in all times of years, there's sort of this superficial focusing of if you say it is, then it is. And so in the case of the holidays, that thing of just saying this is a great gift, which you can say about any product, and you could create an infographic with Santa Claus holding your product and giving it to a smiling person. But just because you're doing those things doesn't necessarily convey why it is a great gift. And so you need to always make sure that you're answering that question of why. So if you're saying it's a great gift, there are two people that you're really wanting to please with that statement. So there's, of course, the recipient of that gift, but then there's also the intermediary, the person that's the gift giver. And they're a really important person to be considering as well, because they may not ever have any direct interaction with your product, but they are putting a lot of trust into you to be creating a product that is going to be high quality, that's going to excite the person receiving it, that's going to last. People put a lot of care and time into finding the perfect gift, and it really doesn't feel good when you give something and somebody asks for the gift receipt, or that you see that disappointed look on their face, and that it's just going to end up in their regifting closet. So there's actually two people there, and so just saying it's a great gift isn't really going as far as you could or should be going to communicate why it's a great gift. So I think that that's one thing. And then in general, Amazon sellers tend to they get too attached to these rules and tactics. So the only way that you can be successful is if you are using 5 keywords in your title, and it needs to be exactly this, or more is better. Those are two of the main mistakes that I see people make. With copy, more is definitely not better. And online, it's actually the opposite. You want to be as succinct as you can be, because if you are too lengthy with what you're writing, first of all, it can be really intimidating and people may not read anything at all. But second of all, a lot of times that lengthier writing just has excess text that doesn't need to be there. It's not serving you from an SEO perspective, and it's not helping you to push that sale forward in any way. So more is not better. Really thinking about how can you communicate precisely what you need to say in an impactful way that only uses the exact amount of words possible. And I think the other thing is this obsession with using as many keywords as possible in the copy itself, which is forgetting the fact that Amazon's algorithm isn't just looking for those keywords and saying, okay, yep, you use that keyword, you use that keyword, you use that keyword, you're ranking here. Rank is also very much tied to conversions. Yeah. So if you're not actually driving sales, then you're not necessarily doing yourself any favors. And if you have a listing that's just packed full of keywords, then you're likely not converting as well as you should be, because it's most likely a keyword stuff listing that is not at all customer centric, as we were speaking about at the beginning of this talk.
A keyword stuffed listing. Now it sounds like you're talking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to fill up on turkey and sweet potato casserole, but if you like keywords for Thanksgiving, then.
So are you actually seeing this? Like, you're seeing sellers literally stuff their listings with how many, how ridiculous does it get?
It can get pretty ridiculous. And even, it's not necessarily that they're always doing that, but there's this expectation, like even when we're working with them, where they'll be thinking that we should have used more than what we did. Or, sometimes I'll receive a keyword list from a client and it'll be a list of 100 phrases. Even if you use all of your character, there's no way that you can put 100 keywords into the listing, even if you don't use any other words, let alone, it's not just about the keywords. You need to describe your product. You need to communicate key benefits and features and all of those things that customers need to know to make an informed purchasing decision.
Got it. Yeah, it's a great point. Super. Okay, so maybe we could take a step back for a second, Emma, and you could explain to our sellers, like, what's giftable or how to think about giftability in terms of, should everybody be thinking about the holidays? There's some sellers where you say, listen, Jim, you don't need to be worrying about the holidays. This is not your problem. You're not giftable. How does giftability play a role for you and how you help sellers and how sellers can help themselves?
I think it's helpful to think in terms of the types of holiday shopping that is happening and the types of kind of gifts that people are buying. And I don't mean as far as, whether somebody's buying a lipstick or a Bluetooth headset. I'm really speaking about the kind of categories of how people are choosing a gift to give. So the first category would be your product is a specifically requested item. So somebody has written on their wish list, I want this product by this brand. That's sort of the dream. Everybody would love to have that kind of recognition that people are requesting their product in particular. That's something that by the time the holidays roll around, if you haven't achieved that, you're not going to achieve that this year. However, you can be using this time, which just has a general increase in shopping, to start to make headway towards earning that spot next year. And that's something that having a really strong listing can go a long way, because that's doing things like building customer trust, like really figuring out what differentiates you and how you can communicate that in an effective way. But by the time we're at this time of year, that's more of something to be thinking into the future. Then you have, it's very similar but not exact, which is you're on somebody's wish list as a product type, but they haven't specified which one they want. So they say, I want a Bluetooth headset, but they haven't said whether they want one by Apple or by Beats, or they want a Bluetooth headset and they are open. So then the gifter has an ability to go and do a little bit of their own research and choose a product that they think is going to best suit that customer. And that is something that you can be thinking about. And that really means winning your specific category, or at least a category within that category. So if you are, maybe they want a Bluetooth headset and they have an Apple phone and they really like the looks of AirPods, but the AirPods are beyond the budget. Right. And so then you're looking for something that is that same sleek, clean, even white color, rather than those big, bulky, almost like hearing aid looking kind of headsets. And so then you have that space to really be figuring out, okay, what would somebody looking for an Apple adjacent Bluetooth headset, what would they care about? So probably the aesthetic is very important, because obviously that is one of the big draws that Apple has, but probably also ease of use. Those are the two, I would say, main reasons that people are purchasing Apple products to begin with. Right. Now, since this is not Apple specifically, there are also some other considerations that you'll want to address, because some people, when you buy a Apple kind of, not necessarily knockoff, but Apple similar product, you have issues with connectivity because Apple makes it really hard to make other things compatible. Right. Yep. So you would want to address that compatibility issue to reassure people that though this isn't made by Apple, this is a product that is going to work seamlessly with their computer and phone and whatever other devices they're using it with. So you want to be thinking in those types of ways. And then you have the next category of gift, which is the surprise. So somebody hasn't specified what they wanted, or the person buying the gift wants to get something else that they really want to find as that perfect gift that the recipient didn't even know they wanted or needed. And that's really a time to make yourself shine in a different sort of way. So that may be identifying some of those gift related keywords that are not just gift for teenage girl, but gift for teenage girl that loves to cook. I don't know if that's an actual keyword, but honing in on what are some of those more specific keywords that you can potentially go after to be in that discovery space of people that are a little bit more in that browsing sense. So those are the three main types of gift purchases that I would categorize. But then you also have a fourth, which is that with all of this generosity, people want to treat themselves a little bit too. You shop and you say, oh my gosh, I also need a Bluetooth headset and this looks great. And since I'm saving so much money, I'm going to get a pair for myself. Or while I'm already shopping, my blanket in my living room is looking really ratty and I saw this great deal and I'm just going to buy it for myself. And so you have some of those other purchases that are happening around the just higher volume shopping times. And so you want to be mindful of that as well. So even if your product isn't necessarily directly giftable, there is some opportunity there to still be able to capitalize on this busier shopping time of year. But in order to do that, you need to make sure that you have everything locked in and really strong and capable of doing all the things that you need to do with a listing.
Wow, that's a great structured approach for folks to think about. You can imagine an action list where you say, well, let's think about your product from this category, and really think through all those different things and develop a plan of action around it. So I have to believe that it's probably not a good idea for sellers to do this at the last minute and then start making all sorts of changes to their listings. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what do you have to say about that topic of the last minute dash?
Avoid it. So many times I see the weirdest, most frustrating responses from Amazon about why they're rejecting a title or bullets. And sometimes they have nothing at all to do with the content. They're saying that they're using special characters and there's not one special character to be found. And so sometimes, and I would imagine even more so during this time of year when things are extra busy, you don't want to put yourself into this panicked position of needing to change something and either not being able to make that change, or perhaps for whatever reason, it gets your listing temporarily suspended, even if you haven't done anything wrong. And so it's better if you're going to make those changes, I would say in the next couple of weeks is really when you would want to be doing that. Ideally, you'd want to be doing this in Q3. You don't necessarily want to wait till you're in the midst of things, but there are still some adjustments that you can be making that there, I think, will be a little bit of time in between Prime Day and the kind of apex of the holidays with Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all of that, to still make some changes, but you don't want to be waiting to do that.
So how can you help us and help sellers think about what's a change that you could make a few weeks out versus a change that you just should not even think about making a few weeks out?
I think a few weeks out is a safe time to be making changes. It's just that you want to be prepared for potentially encountering some roadblocks and that you're just leaving yourself enough time to be able to manage those without impacting things. Something else that I have seen some articles about and just in some of the choices that retailers are making is that holiday shopping has already started even before Prime Day, and that the retailers are really encouraging that so that there isn't too much backup or over inundating all of the different parts of the supply chain. And so it may not, really, I'm not an expert on this, so I don't want to be making forecasts for what the holiday season will look like. However, I would say that there's a good chance that it will be kind of more consistently throughout. This is sort of related, but I've never seen people with so many Halloween decorations out. And I think the reason for that is that people are really eager for the holidays and for something to be putting themselves into. They've already decluttered their houses. They've already done all those DIY projects, and they're like, okay, I'm going crazy and it's going to get cold. And so I think that that's also going to translate into probably earlier Christmas decorations going up and earlier holiday purchases being made, just in the search for something to do and something to be excited about.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Wow. There's a lot, I guess there's just a lot of pent up demand for joy these days. What can you say?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. That's really interesting that you're seeing that going on. Another thing, so you spoke a little bit when you were just now, when we were talking about listings and we were talking about keyword stuffing instead of turkey stuffing, we were talking about SEO. And so I'd like to understand from your perspective, how much of your time do you spend with the topic of SEO on your mind versus not on your mind, specifically when you're talking about listing optimization? Because you're a marketer, you're not an SEO. I'm sure you know a fair amount because you have to, but you're not an SEO specialist. And so I'm just wondering how much of that really matters practically from your perspective.
It matters quite a bit when it comes to Amazon. So as much as I say you need to be focusing on the customer, you really need to be balancing those two things simultaneously. So you do need to make sure that you have a really thoughtful keyword strategy and that you're at the same time integrating those seamlessly into everything that you're writing. So it is really balancing those two things. When it comes to listing optimization and the front end that's going to be customer facing, it's very important that you're finding keywords that make sense to include in the listing and are relevant to the product itself. Because if you're, sometimes you'll see those great Spanish keywords. Well, if your product isn't, I would, kind of in that Spanish themed category, it would be very odd and off-putting to be reading a listing in English and then see this random phrase that, first of all, you may not understand, but second of all, just looks totally out of place.
Right.
But you can also sometimes have these really great longer keywords that just you cannot find a way to fit them into the copy in a way that will make for a coherent sentence. And that's okay because you have back-end fields that you can use to insert those terms that you cannot fit into or make a way to work in the front end. So it is very much both. You want to have a clear keyword strategy, but also understanding how to work those keywords into things in a way that's not making the keywords the main focus of the listing.
Okay, interesting. So since we're talking about listings, maybe you could show us a little bit of how you work your magic and share with our sellers the kind of analysis you do and the kind of value that you add to seller listings.
Sure. So I'm just going to share my screen right now, and Great. We're going to look at a couple of listings that I have pulled up that are great examples of what not to do. But the reason why I also chose these listings in particular is because they are performing really well. So some people may see that and say listings don't matter. What I see is opportunity here. I see if these are already performing so well, how much better could they be doing if they were to optimize these? Or if you really knew how to do things properly and came in, I think you could give some really strong competition to these businesses. So my guess is that these have been around for a while, maybe even pre the kind of like sophistication that the Amazon marketplace has undergone. Yeah. So they were able to get a lot of reviews, and they're really writing on either those reviews or a cheap price to maintain their dominance. And that is definitely something that you can start to really put a hurt on if you're so inclined. So this first product that we're looking at, it may not be what you typically think of as a holiday gift, but at least in my family, pets are recipients of gifts just as much as anybody else in the household. In fact, our pets give the other pets in the family gifts. So this is
So they have
dog.
a budget. That's part. They have an allowance and a budget, huh?
Well, their parents are the ones that are choosing the gifts. So I guess it's determined by them. Nothing elaborate, but it is still, they're a part of the family, and they are very much included in the generosity of the season. And so if we look at a product like this, I would say that this is potentially a really great giftable item. It's cute and will, excite the dog owner, but it also serves a function in keeping the animal warm during the cold months. So the first thing, let's just go ahead and look at the photos here. So the first photos, I don't think that this is the correct angle to be demonstrating these things. It really doesn't show at all that they're even vests. Like, it could almost be a bib, or who knows? It's not the clearest.
No, I thought it was a sleeping bag.
It could be a sleeping bag. I think they do make dog sleeping bags. In fact, I believe my dad was searching for a dog sleeping bag for my dog. Okay, next we have a sizing chart. They're showing how to measure things. Honestly, I'm looking at this and I don't understand what's the difference between a good measurement and a bad measurement. So to have that with the size chart and then no text to indicate what I should or shouldn't be doing, my confusion is only rising. Next, we get to this image. A lot's going on. My eyes don't really know what to focus on. I'm seeing fire. I'm seeing images. I don't know. Okay, now we start to see a little bit of more helpful imagery.
It's really best, yeah.
Right, it is a vest. We're seeing it on a couple of different size dogs, so that's helpful. That's giving us some context. And they're talking about the fact that this is reversible, which is interesting. Again, some other images. These types of images, these lifestyle types of images, are incredibly important for any product. They help the customer visualize how this product will integrate into their lives. However, leaving these without text is kind of missing out on an opportunity, because if you were able to include just a little phrase here that speaks to something that would either be a benefit of the product that somebody may not see elsewhere in the listing, or you want to reinforce that benefit, or just even helping to create that excitement around getting this home and thinking about how adorable your dog will look, that's something worth honing in on, and they're missing out on that opportunity. Then we're going to go to the title. This is a mess of keywords. They're not even using dashes to sort of offset things. So I don't know about you, but I look at this and my eyes kind of go cross-eyed. Like it's a lot.
No, it's an amazing observation, because I thought it was a sleeping bag, and my mistake was never corrected because I couldn't make my way through the entire title. So I just glossed over everything that was in there, and I didn't catch the word vest.
Well, and I haven't done a character count on this, but all of these words are before what actually describes what the product is. Right. And when you're on mobile, and even when you're on desktop, the title oftentimes is truncating, and it can truncate in as soon as 60 characters, which may be sort of around this point. So it's possible that if you are looking at this on your phone, you may think it is a sleeping bag, because it's not even showing you the part that says that it's a dog vest, which is one of the more important things. But it's also, if you see, it's the #1 bestseller in dog cold weather coats. So I would actually think that is a better descriptor than vest, because I don't really see coats on dogs with sleeves on them. Right. Most coats are just kind of vest shape. So that is probably a better phrase. And again, I haven't done the keyword research on this to say, but to have that information so far into the title is really doing them a huge disservice. So if you're looking at a search page and you're trying to figure out which one to go for, and you don't even know if this is the type of product that you're looking for, then you're less likely to get those clicks into your listing. So you want to be thinking about your title serves particular importance on the search page and making sure that you're communicating that important information at the front of the title so that people aren't going to think, oh, I don't want to waste time to click into this to figure out if it's what I'm searching for. But yes, this is matching at least this initial thing that I need to know, and I'm going to click in to see if it really fits my needs as a customer.
Yep.
Okay, so now we have the bullets. They're kind of a huge mess. They have everything from poor grammar to just sort of throwing everything in here in a really odd way. It's a mess. Let's be honest. It is not well written. It is not organized well, and it's failing to address what the main function of a product like this is, which is to keep your animal warm during the cold months, and also maybe to look cute. I would say that those are the two most important things. And you have some vague references to that throughout the listing, but it's not really given the prominence that it should have. And now let's scroll into the A+ content. Hopefully their A+ content is better, but I've already looked at this listing and I know that that's not the case. Okay, so here's the first image. The image itself is not a very well done image rather, but it's also.
What's the problem with the image? Like, give us a sense of what the weaknesses are specifically, please.
So a few things here. One is they're just trying to do too much. So this is the entry point into the A+ content. So I think it would be much more helpful to not have all of this excess text here. And instead what I would do is I would show a few different dogs of a few different sizes to demonstrate the range of sizes and to help people relate to this product regardless of the kind of animal that they have.
Yeah.
I also don't think that the British style plaid is the most important thing that they could be emphasizing here. And then they're showing that it's reversible, but they're not actually saying that it's reversible. And so it's just trying to communicate too many things, and it's not communicating any of those things well.
Yeah.
And I also just think that an actual picture of a dog running in the snow, it's so obviously photoshopped in just a low quality way that it just doesn't help. Okay, so now the next thing that they put, again, similarly to with the photos, is they're putting all of this emphasis on the sizes. And it's great that they have a wide range of sizes, but I don't know that many people when they're sitting at their computer trying to make an easy purchase for a new winter coat for their dog that are going to want to go chase their dog down, unearth a tape measure in their junk drawer, maybe even need the help of somebody else in the household to keep their dog to stay still. That's kind of a lot of effort that I don't necessarily want to make.
Yeah.
And so this is something, again, that they could do a few things. So one is they could make a list of the types of dogs that each one may fit. They could also give some general guidelines like weight that is not going to be exact, but could give a better estimate and is a detail that more dog owners are likely to know rather than their chest girth and their neck girth. And then also having an image of the different sizes on corresponding dogs. How hard would that be? Then I say, okay, I have a French Bulldog. They should have a medium. I don't know what size a French Bulldog should actually have, but giving me the opportunity to make an easier choice rather than giving me this complicated homework that I just probably am not going to do. And then if I'm not going to do it and I'm making a guess about it, if I make the wrong guess and then it arrives and then you have to deal with the return because you didn't help me make an easy decision, you're just making more mess for yourself as well.
Yes.
Okay, scrolling down. odd language, positive wear effect and reverse effect. I understand they're trying to show that this is reversible, but the language is very confusing. Then we also have these numbered things that I don't know what I guess we have a code, but it's confusing, and I don't know what decin is, or, I mean, I'm just, as I go through this, I'm not getting my questions answered, and I'm actually just having more questions arise.
What is that? What are those doggies standing on?
I think it's a crate.
It's a crate? Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to have the dog stand on. And they're also in, I guess it's a fall-like environment,
Right.
but some more atmospheric images of an actual dog in the in colder weather. And hey, what about a picture of a dog and their human?
Right.
Because we love photos with people and we love photos with dogs. And so if you're able to start to create that experience of an animal and their human enjoying the cold weather together, those are the types of things that you should be doing. Your A+ content isn't just about demonstrating the product features, but it's really helping to communicate who you are as a brand and why people should want to choose you specifically versus your competitors, and not just based on the product itself. It is a great place to be able to communicate some of those different product features, but it's also a fantastic place to say, why are you the expert in dog attire? I don't know. Also, something else that they're not doing that I think is really important is the length of the coats aren't mentioned, or, well, the body lengths are, but the actual lengths of the coat aren't mentioned. And a lot of people have long dogs, myself included. And so they haven't really told me whether this is something that would suit my long dog or how to accommodate that, if I should size up if I have a longer dog, or how to deal with that. Or maybe this just isn't a coat that's well suited to animals like corgis and dachshunds and whatnot. But again, they're not really addressing that. They're just giving me this random list here, which I know we're kind of going all over the place, but this listing is all over the place. Their list of large to small dogs is in the strangest order. So it doesn't even go from small to large. It's sort of just a random assortment. So if I wanted to see what type of dogs this works with, which is probably not all the dogs. Anyway, this listing truly is a mess and could be done much better. This is the one part that I think is really great, which is they're obviously taking images from their customers of actual dogs in their coats looking happy. But where is the text to bring that to life? Instead, it's thrown in, and then we just have color options, sizes, occasions, and what the package includes. So this could be, I think, maybe even if it was edited a little bit better, the main image of the A+ content. And instead, it's sort of an afterthought, and they're not even really taking full advantage of these great photos to help build excitement and enthusiasm for the product. So,
wow, it was really eye-opening. Thank you for walking us through this.
Yeah, happily. So I have another listing. If you want to dive into that.
Our sellers they're eager for case studies. So maybe we can do this one and give it a quick run through.
Okay. Are you seeing now the microphone?
Yep, we sure are.
Okay, cool. So next we have a karaoke microphone. This is a really popular item to gift. I think they've been popular for a few years. And so the idea is that they can use Bluetooth to connect with most devices so that you can, play the music and sing along and read the lyrics and all the things that one would need to do in order to have a successful karaoke time.
Yeah.
So again, let's look at the photos first and foremost. So again, already confusing. 3 connections. It's not totally how you would word that, but then in really small font, they mention the 3 types of connections in a way that is just, it's confusing. It doesn't make sense. The imagery is strange, and it's not going to be very readable on a phone for sure. And it's not that readable on the computer.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have a second image that's talking to this compatibility thing. But again, the compatibility part is very small and reliant on the logos. So if you don't understand what those logos mean, like I don't even know what is this logo, this music
that's Google
Play note.
Google Play Music, yeah.
Okay. See, I don't even know what that means, but then they're showing this like microphone, so it seems to be demonstrating that it's able to project, like it has its own speaker built in. It's talking about the different, I guess, things that you can do with it. So trying to do way too much, not doing any of it particularly well.
Yeah.
Record your natural sound. What did they mean by that? I think they are trying to speak to the quality of the ability of the microphone to record with high integrity, but that's not really communicated by that main header. And again, it's just a little bit confusing. The supporting text is quite small, and there's just too much going on. Images like this, it would probably be better to make the microphone a little bit less dominant in the picture, because you're really trying to show off some of the other elements. Right. And in doing that, then you could you can make the other images a bit bigger and with bigger text that makes more sense. Bluetooth memory, automatically connected next time, but then it's also talking about charging. Why do we have to go into all of that in one photo? And then we have this kind of evil looking battery. Like, he doesn't look friendly. He's like, why is he raising his eyebrow like that at me? I don't understand. Whoa, again, trying to show me all of the different functionalities of the microphone. Don't know that this is really serving much purpose. If you want to show me these things, it would probably be best to split this up into some different images. And then they have a video, which we won't watch. I imagine that the video is maybe cute, but again, to see. The one good thing about this listing is their title is a lot easier to navigate, though best gifts is a little lazy, and I don't know that that's really achieving anything by having it there. Right. Let's go into the bullets. These bullets, I would like to know your just immediate opinion, Michael. Like, what's your thought when you just look at them? Don't even read them. Just where do your eyes go?
Nowhere. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, nowhere. I mean, it's
exactly.
It's a blob of text. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to spend the time reading all of this. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, since I'm short on time, I don't even know where to start.
Exactly. And so let's say that that first and foremost, you want a microphone that's going to be long lasting, that you want it to be able to be used all night long. So you want it to be, 6 to 8 hour battery life, because the worst thing that could happen is mid karaoke party, the microphone goes dead. You have no idea where to go and find that information. And in fact, I don't even know that detail. No, it's not. It is not in the bullets. So not only, I would say that that's a pretty important detail that's just not there, but assuming it was there, this is not organized in a way that it's going to make it easy for you to find that. Right. I would say probably one of the biggest details that people would want to know is compatibility, since this is something that's meant to be used with devices that you already have. Right. And it's kind of talking about compatibility a lot, but it's not really giving me a clear space where I can actually go and say, these are all the things that it works with. It's in the second bullet, at the very end of the second bullet, it says all iOS and Android smartphones and tablets.
Which, by the way, is a little hard to believe too, just FYI, but that's a separate matter.
I would agree, but it's also the beginning of that bullet has nothing to do with compatibility. Right. So if that's your most important detail that you to say, I don't want to waste time getting excited about this, because if it doesn't work with my child's iPad, then it's a no-go. Well, you're not even sure that you're going to be able to find that information or where to find that information. So some things that they could do. First, have really focused bullets, one main concept per bullet. You don't have to communicate all of the information about the product in the bullet. People understand that there are other places that they can go to get more information if they want and need it. So the bullets are to communicate the 5 most important points that you want to make. It's to communicate the benefits of your product, any of those important choice criteria that people have, like compatibility. So really having a clear sense of what people need to know in order to dive in a little bit deeper and invest more time. Using some all capitalized headers would be really helpful so that it immediately helps the customer understand exactly where their eyeballs need to go to find that information. And then really trimming these bullets down to make them a lot more approachable for customers, so that they're not looking at this and saying, oh, wow, that's a lot. I don't want to deal with this.
It's amazing how much the theme of, less is more.
Yes.
Just keeps playing a role in everything that we do.
For some reason, I think writing in particular, there is this concept that it's almost like a commodity. And so, you should have as much of it as possible. And the more you have, the better. And that's just not the case. And if you really take a step back and look at your own buying habits, or even let's think about off Amazon for a moment. So if you go to a website, would you ever see bullets like this? Would you ever see bullets this long?
Yeah. I mean,
you would see really short bullets, and you would see a little intro paragraph. You would see some short bullets that are speaking just to the features. And then you would maybe have some additional supporting information, or, it would be organized in different ways depending upon what the product is specifically. You would never dream of putting bullets like this on your own website. Right. And yet, because this is how Amazon organizes it, and because people are so, eager to get as many keywords in as possible and to use all of their space as possible, they're actually doing themselves a disservice in trying to think in that more is better mindset. And so really being thoughtful about every single word that you put on the page and being clear about what function that's serving and if it's really working in your favor or not.
Okay, I have a question for you. Could we switch from the screen share for a sec?
Yeah.
So I think so. One of them. So some of the takeaways I think are, first of all, obviously less is more, and that seems to be throughout. Don't stuff. I mean, these are classic examples of stuffing everywhere.
One of the common mistakes that I see people make when they're writing their own listings, or what they kind of expect to see from when they hire other people, is this over-the-top infomercial sort of marketing language where you're saying that everything's the best and the greatest and the most innovative. And you want to be really careful about that, because if you're making claims that you can't back up, what you're doing is you are really putting your account at risk by potentially making a lot of sales that were not meant to be.
Wow. And what a great point. Yeah.
And so you don't want to just be making any and every sale. You want to be making the right kind of sale. Yeah. That means also, if your product isn't a great fit for somebody, helping them identify that early, that's going to help build trust and respect from the people that don't purchase that product. But it also creates a lot more trust and reassurance in the people that do choose, because they know that you've taken the time to say this isn't for you.
It's a great point, because obviously sellers we're always worried about refunds and returns as well. And you're talking about setting expectations to help minimize that, in effect.
Exactly. Like something small like the dog coat that we were looking at. If it's not going to fit long dogs, communicate that up front so that people don't get excited about a coat and then get it home and have that disappointment that it only covers the front half of their dog's body and it leaves the back half exposed to the cold temperatures. Or at least help me understand that, so I know, okay, well, this isn't going to be an exact fit, but I know that that's not going to be an exact fit, and I've made that decision anyway, and I know that, and I'm not going to get it out of the box and feel that, sad, disappointed feeling of this not being what I wanted. Yeah. And, that feeling is not only something that you want to avoid, but that feeling is what is going to drive people to leave negative reviews. And that feeling is going to keep people from wanting to purchase from you in the future. Whereas if you can match those expectations or even exceed those expectations when somebody's receiving it, then that's where we're able to create an opportunity for positive reviews, for somebody that's going to want to look and see the other products that you're selling, that's going to want to tell people about how great your business is. And so it's about more than just that sale. And at the very beginning of this conversation, we were talking about focusing on the customer, and it all comes back to that, and making sure that you understand what the customers want, what they need, and that you're communicating that so that you can create positive experiences for when people are opening it up or giving it as a gift or whatever the circumstance may be.
Wow. Really eye-opening, Emma. I think this is so educational and helpful. And I think also a little humbling, because as sellers, we are, listen, I could put myself in the shoes of the sellers who created those listings. Let's just get it done. Let's just, we got some copy. Let's pack it in. Something is better than nothing. Manage your risk, say more so that you get every feature under the sun. Like, these are the things that sellers are thinking about when they're doing 101 things, including managing their profitability with ShopKeeper's help and managing their keyword research. You could just see how these things happen in reality. And I think it's humbling to hear the perspective that you have. It's amazing. Tell us a little bit more about, how do you work with sellers? What do you do when you're not just getting things done for listings? What else do you do? And how can sellers know whether you're the right person to help them?
So first and foremost, what we just did with these 2 listings, we offer free listing analysis. So if you're not really sure what you need to do with your listing, or you even think that it's pretty good, but perhaps there are some opportunities that you're overlooking, if you go to our website, marketingbyemma.com/free analysis, there's also a banner at the top of every page. You just fill out a short form, and we are happy to give you some feedback about the things that you may want to consider doing to strengthen your listing. And then you mentioned profitability, and I think that's something that's really important to think. A lot of people look at listing as a cost, but your listing is your salesperson, and it is the thing, really one of the only ways that you have to communicate with your customer,
Right.
and it's the thing that is helping either make that sale or break that sale. And so by having a stronger listing, even if that just converts a few percentage points better,
Absolutely.
that has a huge impact on the profitability of your business. And then when you start to look at things like if it's also able to minimize return rates and is making your PPC more efficient and all of those types of other benefits that you can experience with a really strong listing, ranking better organically, all of those things are so important. So we can help with listing optimization. We also really love working with brands that are wanting to kind of expand or strengthen their presence off of Amazon with things like their own websites, and helping them to tell their story and to really figure out what makes them special so that they can stand out. Because a lot of times the product itself may not be all that different. And so your differentiators really come down to who you are as a business, right, what you stand for, what you're the kind of future that you're wanting to create. And so you need to be able to communicate that really effectively if you are going to be creating long-term success for your business.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I think this offer that you have of doing some courtesy free advice on listings. I hope that all of our sellers are going to take advantage of that and reach out to you. Is there a particular type of seller that is particularly well suited for you as a client? It sounds like you do this all the time and for a lot of different products and a lot of different sellers. So I'm thinking you do this for just about everybody, but is there anything that sellers should think about in terms of their suitability for you?
You're right. We work with all different types of businesses. So we work with brand new sellers that are getting ready to launch their first products. We work with big businesses that have marketing departments that just don't have the time or expertise to be able to invest in the Amazon listing piece. But I think really where our best value comes are those those sellers that they are established, they know what they're doing, and they understand the importance of branding and the importance of really how they present themselves. And so we're able to come in and really make sure that we're doing everything we can to not only strengthen their performance on Amazon, but to make sure that they're in a position that as they explore other channels, if that's something that they want to do in the future, that they're well positioned to be able to do that, and that there's synchronicity there.
Great. Yeah, I know a lot of sellers are reaching out to us, especially since the pandemic, about expanding their channel strategy. So I know that that's top of mind for a lot of folks. I mean, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking the time out to share your expertise. I am so impressed with just the thoughtfulness and the expertise that you have. I'm really excited about how our community is going to benefit from this. And I want to encourage everybody to reach out to Emma directly. You heard it from her. She's going to pitch in and do great stuff for you, marketingbyemma.com. And in the meantime, keep an eye on your profitability with ShopKeeper. And we'll be looking forward to helping you more as we approach the holidays and beyond. Thanks a lot.